All right, Philip Lawrence Sherrod, poet, reading from Purple Shit Hits the Fan, 47 poems and 7 etchings, copyright 1986, ISBN number 0-939826-00-6, Library of Congress catalog card number 85-72875, typeset in QUARDO 15. And I'm going to attempt to read another 10 poems, starting with 10, reading to 20. With fingers of passion, one finger without one finger up at a time, and sucking up and denouncing the world of arts and letters. Fingers of Roman anarchy, with one finger to giving me the finger. Cosmopolitan, not at your age, fingering in one ticket, one train, 7 fucking cars upon the 17B6 Pullman standard train. Passengers must keep off the platform until brain stops. No smoking, and obviously no one is. Nights, what? Black as stars, or this window pane, oriental and slant-eyed Christ, yellow critical punch marks. By flexing of the wrist, the white plates are like white lies, fingering in black lies, lying in track, grooving. Such liars are severe, like the black groove, grooving scratches, black plates, whites, blacks. The real gut of the issue lies, lying to tell the truth, dying a snow lip. Like forearm punches, like punch-drunk Irish, tethered into 1,000 pieces, well, maybe 799 cracks, sprinkled, and a black void like Brick Church Lane, no ticky, no trippy. Passengers rippling up, these trips cost more than it's worth. 9 more black thoughts, 0 cracks or windows lost, to never catch in the night's reflection. Lights hang heavy, black as thoughts. Well, what about memory after all of this? The memory of her dead without her knowing. Will we all kneel down and pray to the ceramic goddesses of transportation or temptation? Well, maybe they won't know. 36 and slightly letting her guard down. Lost like Moses in the wilderness, breaking Totali's, less like Mama Doll Italina, tyranny of temporary eaters, to losing my molars quicker yet to hollow whole. Maybe more like the sunken eye, one more trip should do it. Pigeon belonging to the club, but not really. Hobbling on all twos, one clubbed, one natural, both feet far from birth. Hatched, cracked from egg, silly, winged and serious, a human angel, crippled by human suffering. And this bird knows his difference. always at the edge of a pigeon-toed society, yet grooving for the grain. This time an Italian dinner, pasta and linguine with Romano in Brooklyn, 4th Avenue and 7th Street, right in front of the Salvino trucks, scratching out his pen name, a sure loser, to hopscotching in between the cracks of women and sidewalks bound for pigeon heaven. One season after this one, hobnobbing with his pin-feathered pals, picking up the details of his club-footed nature all the way to childhood or birdhood or criminal squabhood, and sure-footed, 12 and a half and clubbed, beauty tongued like bombshell, grabs her purse and exits the exit, 13 and a half, 13 tigress, the coat spotted instead of striped and nostrils flared, happens to be a Spanish black and kinky, oils the hair even kinkier, her asleep, and no sunlight over her shoulder. The purse, the conductor, looking for tickets to take, yells out, "Maplewood!" My ticket, my number 20, window open, yells out, "Milburn!" Shadows fly past my window, kind of racy to watch her eyes open and innocent stare at the physical unconsciously. Her hands go up to place one bobby pin down and over her darkest finger, and I touch her gold-like gold rings that hang like circles captured by civilization's ear rings, titulated again. She says thank you by that finger, her nail, like extremely pink, and her so black within. 14, the female order of order. As silly birds or angels winging it in from heaven, or hell only knows what man's been through, kneeling, praying, every minute to goddesses ecclesiastical, to make up, to be sure, those halos and circles of man's order could make one dizzy, or look seductive, subjective, and wet, and always, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, high heels, erratic, descending the marble stairs, no Michelangelo or T5 Eliot, or figurines left over from Sistine could chapel, or descend, or condescend more miles, making man look silly and in a tizzy, kinda stupid, from trying to understand or shilly-shally or reason, and there is no reason, within the staccatoed kiss and tell, season, but it wouldn't look well, sure to get one's lion share, 14 and a half, going to work to make it, work, and having tried the true angels of earth, female and earthy flesh repeaters of the flesh of the highest order, and platable click-clacks, chicks with sharp heels, shinning one out to order and kicking as emphasis, as under the table on my shins. 15 you spoke, dying from faces, blue smoke. You drew circles round them, and the people kept their hearts out of societies, had to go, and you hooked up with yourself to your pastel lungs, images coughing and sputtering, claiming of glassy-eyed perspectives. The joker drank tears from your mouth. 15.5 aces of spades was kissing the smoke rings, sticking in his tongue. In the vacant holes, one smoke ring falling over your third left hand, calling themselves married models. Lack and gall, conviction of ideal society, and you drew bodies, lacking spirit, withered like cigarettes, absent with faces and no faces to speak of, hung like masks, like fur collars, hanging from necks without pretenses, dying without mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. You took them to heart. They complained little the dogs had eaten their hearts out, and models winced and said nothing, and they pretended not to care about a lunch or smoking, the inhaling, burning the paper until the weed be misdrawn as purple smoke stunk, ashes, and dying of life, dropping to death. You huffing and puffing, lying as if you were artist, artifact, or extinct magna cum laude, or psychic beauty blowing the pig's house down. Time had run out of images. 16, arise, a few bubbles, Lawrence Welk, then thank you, smile, Teddy Kennedy, Chappaquiddick, treacherous, swollen torrent of a river that night. A few bubbles rise, we'd all have done her right that night, drowned her of our lovin', Scott drunk, free, coward, unable to make the blonde, the butterfly crawl, work, encased in cowardice, the badge of our courage, dog paddling, dog crawling, the lie or die, a spoiling, rotten girl, and she went down like the Titanic, frantic, all hands on board crying out from spring rains, a New England tragedy traversing in, sitting in. Blimpies bulge, New York City, 4 o'clock a.m., half moon out, window against a Utrillo building or sky plastered in grief. Some relief, discussing the pros, the cons with Peter Schwarzberg, painter, poet, Ph.D., 16.5, or Ruth Chai Vodka. Peter, a few bubbles pop. 5, or Sherrod, you got to come to grips with the bloody thing. In Vienna, among the good families, the psychosis or neurosis of man, for what ails me. What's more real, Peter? In this year of election, what's more real? Carl Jung's woman, introverted and thinking, feeling sensation from archetypal image of introverted man, the beast, and we'd all have drowned her that night of our love and guilt, brought in before an introverted God. She God, what a farce. Chappaquiddick, to think we paid for this, to see if we still got it. Title, The Nixogeny War, 17 frozen mouse and mouse trap between brass jaws. Wire. Good trap still holding bad mouse. Stiff and rigor mortis mouse, deep freeze fried, stiffer than stiff. A rodent or mouse stiffer than mouse. Grew or stiff louse staring into space, and the grin on his face, or grimace, or snarl. The smile is not the look of baby Jesus. The blank look, empty look, dead look, quit looking. But the little boy said if cat could find bird, stuffed like a stiff mouse, dried up in wet January, well anyway, it must be a fake. You couldn't prove it if by me no better mounted by any taxidermist, mousing if or stiff sex fiend, his mouth was open and grinning at death. 17 and a half or cat god got domesticated real quick. Snap E, left right out of life like snapping your finger and which way to go into a mouse hole, looking for the mouse god, looking for the mouse god, mousing around with cheese in his mouth before the final snap, snapping his medulla oblongata and base of skull. Better keep my mouth shut, or my mouse mouth or trap shut. Snap. A wriggle of warm mouse breath, a trickle, a red life, at corner of Wooster and Prince Street. Slug metric, system twice as murky as Okefenokee or Oklahoman, underfoot, step 2, doing and youing, going on the last system by 2G, fed up, alcohol in eye, on rattlesnake-eyed and puffy as cotton mouth, as cotton trees, soft as silver. These cottonwood trees' leaves are trembling and blowing through your blonde white hair. To a lonely girl with a grapefruit gin, sour, as floating ice in Pyrex tumbler soused by crawling this hair convolutions, the flower your lips, blown up twice, the size as big as my imagination, big as blood or painted picture of passion, blowing my veins out like an old romantic 8 and a half. Gone for out of style twice, the pounds over you looked at me for the American dollar, the rebel, and whose lot is this? Taking a chance, my sister behind the mental black ball 3, 19. They're pushing people off the track like flies. 7-year-old boy to 59-year-old boy in front of trains, subway mortality rates, the social vogue in this hostile society, and we go nowhere looking over your shoulder, a self unconscious as environmental ecology 424 students with wings, taught like rats in a cage to fly, defend their territorial rights by pushing or eating each other as in pornographic exposures. 4 souls to a minute, 4 rats to a human being, and being pushed beyond their tolerance, like his or her human ratacology state of an insecure soul within steps 1 to 5, which settles and defends their virgin rights or fly constitution crawling over them like potatoes because I wouldn't hurt a fly or rat or Alfred Hitchcock. Alright, this is the 20th poem of the 10 on this recording. 20. Past, bodies in space, projectilin in perspective, floatinlin in like human geometry and spaced out to inner realities, treadmilling in the cosmic flow, to talking, saluting statue with with singing, star-spangled banner, being patriotic and nodding and recollecting and recogging in alter ego 10, singing crazy popular tunes to lost to life. I unconscious strikes me funny to transit authority strike. 5 days old, this strike's only been 5 days and half of my life, and no future in it for me. And this girl and I walk with a number 11 with tongue out, dark-eyed and limping like in seductive fog, or seductive frog in a fog, looking for male flies to open to taking a quick 20 and a half. Hell of a licking, this chick, or sick bick, tits swinging under her skin to tea and off, T-shirt and off or and on her voice. When I get to Broadway, they'll see me as 6th Avenue Broad, and the space between her legs, liberal, the span between her ankle length shirt, cerebral, reminds me of caves I used to crawl into, big and deep and treacherous, looking for lips, pulled back to snarling, to smiling on her back, waving her wings like a bat to private blipping it ahead of the batty race, cockeyed and ratty, really batty over you, my Desmoda baby, sucking the life out of myself, a female with bats, throats, suckers, singular with long tongues and sundown attitudes, chiropata, laced, winged, and rubbery, constantly chattering to showing her teeth to key, a big brother Europeano, marble-headed in life and death sucks, the overall super batty woman's in no respect to me, or death mate sucking the life out of me. 20 3/4 third month birds ready to mate again, dancing in as gamecock or on fingers of passion, one finger without one of time, sucking up and denouncing the world of letters. All right, that's the next 10. Of Purple Shit Hits the Fan, that was to be published in 1986, but didn't make it because the publisher was afraid of obscenity as the object of my love. So there you have it with the second 10 recorded. Written in 1986, this book, and now being published in 2015 in the spoken literal word of passion. Fini. To be continued.